There is something lurking in the vastness of space that could plunge our modern world into absolute chaos in the blink of an eye. No, it's not an asteroid, a rogue planet, or some alien menace. It's something much closer, something we rely on every single day. A powerful CME can induce electric currents in transmission lines, transformers, and substations, overloading them to the point of complete destruction. Our satellites, thousands of them orbiting Earth right now, would be sitting ducks. These satellites power everything from GPS navigation to weather forecasting, military surveillance, global communications, and international banking. After a relatively quiet decade, it's entering solar cycle 25, a period of heightened activity that peaks every 11 years. Globally, the figure could exceed $10 trillion. But money wouldn't even be the biggest problem. The collapse of critical infrastructure would lead to water shortages, food supply chain failures, hospital shutdowns, and societal breakdowns. In some regions, it could take weeks to restore basic services. In 2012, a CME matching the power of the 1859 Carrington Event erupted from the sun. Had it occurred just 9 days earlier, Earth would have been in its direct path. NASA confirmed this would have crippled modern civilization. 9 days. That's the terrifying randomness of it all. We were spared not because of technology, not because of preparation, but purely because of where the Earth happened to be in its orbit at that moment. It's also a ticking time bomb, patiently waiting for the moment when it decides to remind humanity just how small and fragile we really are. Stay curious, stay informed, and make sure to subscribe to Beyond Stars for more mind-blowing insights into the universe and the hidden forces that could one day change everything we know about life on Earth. In others, especially developing nations, it could take years. Solar physicists unanimously agree that another Carrington-level event is not just possible, it's inevitable. NASA's Parker Solar Probe is currently flying closer to the sun than any human-made object in history, gathering data about the sun's magnetic field and solar wind. Scientists hope that missions like this will eventually help predict dangerous CMEs before they're unleashed. But hope is not the same as a solution. Right now, the world remains frighteningly vulnerable. It might happen in 50 years. It might happen next month. The sun doesn't care about our schedules. It doesn't care about our economies, our smartphones, our airplanes, our stock markets, or our modern conveniences. It simply does what stars do: burn, pulse, and occasionally erupt with forces powerful enough to erase centuries of progress in an instant. This isn't just a tech problem. This is a civilization-level event. Scientists have already observed a spike in sunspots, solar flares, and minor CMEs, signaling that the sun is becoming more volatile. A storm that is absolutely guaranteed to come. The only variable is when. And when it does, it won't be like anything humanity has ever faced. We won't be able to outrun it, shoot it down, or hide from it. The only way to survive is to prepare. But preparation requires awareness. And as of now, most of the world is still asleep to this looming threat floating 93 million miles away. It's not that simple. Space agencies are working on it. Some satellites are equipped with protective shielding. Some power grids have limited safeguards against geomagnetically induced currents. But the truth is, we are massively building transformers that can withstand the surge of a Carrington event. Costs billions. And very few have been deployed, protecting every satellite, every airplane, every pipeline, every internet. No, it's a logistical nightmare. Most governments quietly admit that their disaster response plans for a severe solar storm are somewhere between inadequate and non-existent. Multiple agencies, including NASA, NOAA, and the European Space Agency, are sounding the alarm. Think about that. Not war, not pandemics, not even an asteroid. A solar storm is one of the few things that could send the modern world straight back to the 1800s overnight, and the general public has no idea. Just recently, in 2024, Earth dodged a major CME by pure luck. It missed by only a few days of the sun's rotation. Had it been aimed at us, it could have triggered a global disaster. A powerful solar storm could fry their circuitry, knocking them offline permanently. GPS would fail worldwide. Stock exchanges that depend on atomic clocks synchronized by satellites would go haywire. Pilots flying commercial jets across oceans would suddenly be flying blind, with no GPS, no navigation aids, and no reliable communications. Emergency services would collapse. Global shipping grinds to a halt. Even the internet built on undersea fiber optic cable landing stations that would be fried by induced currents. Experts estimate that if a Carrington-level event hit today, it could knock out power for over 40 to 50% of the planet. When a CME erupts from the sun, it travels at speeds of up to 3,000 kilometers per second. Depending on the direction and intensity, Earth might have as little as 15 to 18 hours of warning, time barely enough to shut down satellites or power grids. And not all CMEs are visible in time. Sometimes a CME is hidden behind other solar activity until it's too late. On top of that, our ability to predict which sunspots might produce them is still frighteningly primitive. We know the ingredients, but not the recipe. And we're not just talking about a few hours or days. The damage to critical transformers could take months or even years to repair. Imagine cities going dark. No electricity, no running water, no refrigeration, no internet, no phones, no hospitals, no transportation. Think about how much of your life depends on the invisible pulse of electricity that flows through everything you use. Now imagine it's just gone. The sun. Scientists have been sending out increasingly urgent warnings about a terrifying possibility: the return of something called a Carrington Event. And if you've never heard of it before, brace yourself, because what you're about to learn might change the way you look at the sky forever. The Carrington Event isn't some science fiction doomsday theory. It's a real historical event that occurred in 1859, when a massive solar storm slammed into Earth with unimaginable force. It lit up the skies with auroras as far south as the Caribbean, and even caused telegraph systems, the height of technology at the time, to burst into flames. Operators were shocked, unconscious, papers caught fire, and entire communication grids were knocked offline worldwide. That was at a time when humanity's technological footprint was almost nothing compared to today. Now imagine what would happen if the same thing struck our hyper-connected world, where everything from power grids, GPS, satellites, banking, air travel, internet, and even hospital life support systems depends on a fragile web of electronics. Scientists aren't wondering if it will happen again. They know it will. The only question is when. You see, the sun is a giant, roiling ball of nuclear fusion. Every second, it unleashes massive amounts of energy, some of which occasionally explodes outward in the form of what is called a coronal mass ejection. These are colossal bubbles of magnetized plasma that the sun hurls into space. Most of the time, Earth gets lucky. These CMEs miss us. But when one does hit, and history proves it, the results are catastrophic. The Carrington Event was the biggest in recorded history, but it wasn't the only one. In 1989, a much smaller solar storm knocked out the entire power grid in Quebec, Canada, leaving 6 million people without electricity for 9 hours. And that was just a baby compared to Carrington. Now, multiply that by 1,000, and you start to understand why scientists are absolutely terrified of the next one. What's even more terrifying is that modern technology has made us infinitely more vulnerable. Our power grids operate on razor-thin margins. It gets worse. Here is the kicker that keeps scientists awake at night. We might not even get much warning. Right now, the sun is waking up. Some of the scariest models suggest that a Carrington-level event today could cause over $2.60 trillion in damages in the United States, alone more than 20 Hurricane Katrinas combined. You might be wondering, can't we just build better protection? In fact, a declassified report from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security flat out states that a solar superstorm is one of the few natural disasters capable of causing nationwide power grid collapse and long-term infrastructure failure. What is even more chilling is that we've seen near misses in just the past decade. Now the question is, what happens when our luck runs out? Because it will. There are people working on solutions. If there's one takeaway from understanding the terrifying reality of a future Carrington event, it's this. We are living in the calm before a storm. So the next time you look up at the bright, glowing sun in the sky, remember it's not just a light.